So last week when I was going over some of the features that I like most about Steam as a platform, I ended that video by saying that it pretty much dunks on just about every other gaming marketplace out there without a whole lot of effort. Although I did also go on to say that I think the Xbox does manage to edge it out in a few key areas. Now when I mention the Xbox, I don't specifically just mean the latest hardware being the Series X or anything, but rather the Xbox brand as a whole, including things like the hardware, its services, Game Pass, all of it. And I think that makes sense to clarify because Microsoft has, for a number of years at this point, tried to position the Xbox as more than the entertainment box that sort of sits in your entertainment center that it began life as back in 2001. And instead, it has really tried to make it a flexible ecosystem that follows you to where you game, and considering you can now play Sea of Thieves on the PlayStation 5, I'd say they're doing a pretty good job at following through on that vision. So with that caveat out of the way, here's a very subjective look at how I personally buy games, and why I'm occasionally tempted to go the Xbox or I guess games for Windows route, rather than buying games directly on the Steam marketplace. I think the best place to start with that will probably be price, which I think breaks down into two specific arenas. The first would be Game Pass. Now depending on which level you go for, that's going to set you back about $10 a month or $17 a month, depending on whether you go for Core or Ultimate. The latter of which will allow you to access both Xbox games and PC games, and also grant you access to cloud streaming. So that will break down to about $120 a year or a little over $200 a year, which isn't exactly cheap, but I do think that the value's there. And it's not uncommon at all for me to start exploring some crazy new game on Steam, only to find out that it already exists on Game Pass, or is in fact bound for Game Pass. This happened to me especially last year whenever Hi-Fi Rush Stealth dropped, and then more recently whenever I did that Games Coming Out in June video, there is a new game I'm excited for called Still Wakes the Deep, and it looks like that game is also going to be dropping on Game Pass, so I will have the ability to play that either on Xbox or on PC day one, considering I am a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. About the closest equivalent that I can think of for Steam would be to just curate your wishlist and then wait for those seasonal sales to happen where you can pick up just a ton of games for pennies on the dollar. That's about the best way that I can think of for evening out the cost savings between buying games piecemeal on Steam versus the value that you get from Game Pass. Although even then, I'm not so sure that the cost savings really beats out Game Pass if you're a casual player. And I say that because Game Pass regularly hosts heavy hitters like Persona 3 Reload, Octopath Traveler, and soon Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And it's not even limited to big beefy AAA games now that I think about it. Tons of little indies are available on Game Pass as well, like Have a Nice Death, or Little Kitty Big City, or Another Crab's Treasure are also on the service. And while a subscription service might not be everyone's cup of tea, speaking personally, there have been a number of times where I had a Steam game in my cart, found it was actually already on Game Pass or headed that direction, and I dropped it pretty much immediately. Of course, that's not the only reason that I gravitate to the Xbox occasionally. The second piece of that is that occasionally games really are just cheaper on the Xbox marketplace. It's not often, and the selection isn't nearly as bountiful as what you can get on Steam, but there are definitely times where you can find games just objectively cheaper on Microsoft's platform. Case in point, a few weeks back, I was able to grab a copy of Silent Hill Homecoming for $3.99 on the Xbox, where it was still sitting at $39.99 on Steam, and while you could probably make the argument that I still overpaid at $3.99, the point remains that there are still plenty of deals to be had in Microsoft's gaming sphere, whether that's on Game Pass, or if you just want to buy those games on sale conventionally if you're not the renting type, I guess. But beyond the raw cost savings, there is one standout feature that Microsoft has over Steam that is something that I just cannot inherently get from the Steam marketplace, and that would be their Play Anywhere functionality. If you're not familiar, Play Anywhere is a feature set of Xbox and games for Windows where if you buy a game from their marketplace, you can play it on your PC or on your Xbox and have your progress synced seamlessly. And for someone like me, who has historically been a staunch supporter of consoles, this is a pretty great feature. Now don't get me wrong, there are plenty of times where I don't mind being pulled up to my desk to play a game, right? It is nice having multiple monitors at my disposal, or if I need to look up information quickly, or if I want to listen to like Spotify while I'm playing a game, or if I want to watch somebody else stream. There are definitely advantages to playing a PC game in the conventional pulled up to your desk sort of way. But despite a range of advantages, not the least of which is just the raw power of a gaming PC over conventional consoles, there's still something that it can't quite topple, and that is the fact that playing in my living room at a console is way more comfortable, and I much prefer the experience of just plopping down on my couch, having a blanket and a bunch of snacks nearby, and just going to town on one of my favorite games way more than I will ever enjoy pulled up to a desk. And sure, the Steam Deck lets me do that to a limited degree, but the deck isn't rocking the same power profile as my Series X, nor does it have the streamlined simplicity of a console. I mean, yes, it comes close as a very consoleized PC gaming experience, but the Xbox is pick up and go, and knowing I pay one price for the flexibility of either top-tier comfort or top-tier performance on my PC at my discretion is a pretty sweet deal, especially compared against buying a game on Steam where I can only play that title on a PC or a PC-like device. And outside of Game Pass or competitive pricing, or just the flexibility to play a game on the Xbox or the PC and have my progress seamlessly synced either way, there were a couple of Xbox-specific advantages that I did want to point out, just a couple of light things that will cause me to look more in the direction of Xbox than Steam. For instance, Quick Resume is a great feature, and since I juggle lots of games on a regular basis, it's nice having a game that I want to get back to quickly fire up almost instantly. Also, while Steam points are cool for giving people rewards on the platform, or just for customizing the aesthetics of your profile, Xbox rewards let you accrue value that can be used to buy games, or even redeem gift cards at physical retailers, which is a nice bonus if you're someone who plays a lot of games. Granted, they're not giving you a ton of money for just playing their games, but it is still kind of a nice bonus when those things add up. And finally, even though it's not enough of an advantage for me to craft my entire gaming library around the Xbox specifically, it is nice to play games on a platform where the only thing I really have to worry about are software or operating system updates, and I don't have to do a lot of low-level tinkering to make sure I'm getting the best experience for any particular game. And I guess that's sort of a generic advantage that any console has over playing Steam games on PC, but to be fair, I did want to mention it just because Xbox's hardware is just so perfectly integrated with all of its online services that it all works together really, really well. At the end of the day, I don't think there's one specific gaming marketplace or ecosystem that's really going to just win out and be like the ultimate victor and get all of my gaming dollars for like the rest of time or anything, but it was fun kind of going through this thought exercise to weigh the pros and cons of buying a game on Steam versus buying it on Xbox and some of the factors that I personally consider. But hey, what about you? Do you ever struggle with that as well? Are there instances where instead of buying a game on Steam, you opt to buy it for like a PS5 or an Xbox or something like that? If so, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. As far as what's coming up for the channel, still doing PS2 emulation stuff. That's going to be coming next week. Also, probably games coming in July soon. We're getting close to the end of the month of June, so that's definitely on the horizon. But yeah, as always, thanks so much for your time and hanging out here on the channel. I really, really appreciate it. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.